Today on the State of Survival, we're going to be talking about the Voyagers of Nera's demo that they just put out. Dimension overall, right away, this kind of looks like a really cozy survival game, right?
We've talked about it before. I don't know if we've done an actual episode on it or if it's just been me and you talking about it. But we have talked about it before, at least between the two of us. And I called it a cozy survival game from the minute I played one of the first demos they put out. It's interesting. The premise interests me. The world interests me, and it feels like a kind of enshrouded sense where there's corruption in the world, but it feels a little less intense, a little more cozy than say an enshrouded vibe. And it's not like enshrouded as far as the gameplay or anything like that necessarily, but it's that storyline where something's corrupting the world and you're the character tasked with fixing that corruption.
Yeah, I definitely got that kind of feeling because, the fractures that are going on that these enemies are appearing out of. And they look like constructs where it looks like the spirits that you kind of come around are not the constructs that you're trying to defeat. And I definitely got that, like you said. There's a little bit of like an internal struggle between like magical constructs and maybe more of the nature that is around in the world. But yeah, I mean, right away you get a spirit, and probably within like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if you're actually following all of the tutorial narratives, you actually have your first power up from that spirit, which is being able to summon lightning, which is a pretty cool thing. You actually throw a spark ball at it, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's really cool, and there's a lot of other powers you can get throughout the game when once you're collecting spirits, empowering the fountain and things like that. I think I got to a point where I had a couple of healing spells or powers that I could use. One really cool one that I had at one point was this fire ring. I could summon a fire ring around me, and it did area of effect damage when the enemies came in that ring. And it wasn't a lot of damage. I'm talking like maybe three or four hit points at a time, but it definitely helped when I had three or four of these construct enemies coming at me. And I was able to focus on one, attack one with a spear, and the ones coming up behind me were taking a couple of hits of damage as they were trying to get in behind.
I definitely have to say I loved the playtest before this demo. We were able to use the spirits to like power our furnaces and that kind of stuff, and I really enjoyed that. I haven't got that far yet, but I can't wait to get a little bit further into it. The other thing I enjoyed was it seemed like the combat got a little bit of a better upgrade. The animations felt a little bit more fluid. I didn't feel like I was getting locked into a combo that I couldn't stop and being destroyed by the enemy. But overall, I think the new enemies that can throw like things at you that are these constructs has been really cool. Because before, when we were playing on the playtest, they were kind of like the murky fish guys that we were fighting, and it's really cool to encounter these new construct enemies right away.
I thought that was interesting that we changed from these fish creatures that we had in the first demo to these construct creatures. There was, I think, one island in the very first demo that had some of these construct creatures on there, and they felt very dangerous. But everything else were the fish creatures. There was like some fish bosses. There was one fish, I think, one type of fish that could shoot arrows or shot some kind of projectiles or something like that. Um, Little fan theory, I think that the second set of islands that you can see on the map and you can see off in the distance that you can't get to yet, I think my theory is those fish creatures might be at that location. Because if you look really close, the structures in that area look different from the structures where you start at and then the islands where you're at. But that's just a theory and completely off topic. I liked the changes to the combat, like you said. There is still a little bit of wonkiness and or hit or miss to me with the hitboxes in some areas. There was a few times where either I was doing damage or taking damage when I didn't feel like I should have. I didn't feel like I was close enough, or vice versa, where I felt like I was close enough and wasn't doing damage. But again, we're in early access. We're not even in early access yet. We're in
Or in
demos
demo.
right now.
Yeah.
So, there's still a lot of polishing to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done. And none of it was like game breakingly bad or game breakingly rough, or even that frustrating. It was just like, oh, I noticed I felt like I should have hit that creature there, or I felt like I shouldn't have been hit here, but it happened. And it just takes a little bit of adjusting and adjusting to the hitbox.
One of the things I found frustrating, and maybe it's because it's become such a staple in the gaming industry, is the ability for your character to grab onto ledges and hoist themselves up. I don't need to have climbing mechanics, but in the Voyagers of Nera demo, I didn't have that ability at all. Like, I could barely miss a platform, and my character wouldn't grab onto it or anything, and I would just fall. And I kind of would like to see them have that ability that you could catch the thing, and maybe if you don't have enough stamina, you fall, whatever. But I definitely found that quite frustrating, especially when I started to explore. It got really tedious that I could make these floating things of wood, but I couldn't grab onto a ledge and pull myself up. But graphically, the game's good. I like the graphics in it. They're very pretty. I think my 40 80 uh, probably hits about like 50 to 60 FPS when I'm out in the open, but in certain areas it dips down to 30. And I would have to say, overall, the base building is just as good as the other playtests we've done. It feels a lot more natural now. I think the progression got changed a bit, and I definitely enjoy that. One thing I like that they changed was that when you take your durability for like a tool or a weapon to zero, it breaks fully. You can't recover it, and I love that because while you can just go to the sharpening wheel and repair all of your stuff, if you don't pay attention, you will lose that item.
See, I didn't have that experience, so I wonder if you were doing something different than I was. Because I had it when my durability would go to zero, it would disappear off my hotbar and go into my pocket as a red item, but I could repair it. So I
Hmm.
wonder if there's something one of us was doing different, or maybe different tools do that and some don't.
Maybe it was I just didn't look at my inventory, and when I log on it again, it's going to be right there, and I'm going to be all like, "Well, I'm stupid." But no, I mean,
That's
like,
why you're always overweight. You've got 50 broken tools in your inventory.
exactly. But no, overall, what did you think of the graphics?
I really like it. Again, the way this game is designed really fits into that cozy survival vibe. It is it is intriguing, and it's a pretty world. It makes you want to explore. It makes you want to investigate the other enemies. But some of the enemies that you encounter, they're they're not all friendly and nice looking like everything else. They start to look rough, and they start to look bad. We talked about the fish that were in the first demo. We may see those again, but you still have those like glowing green fish that are in the water when you're swimming around and you go to some of these sunken temples and stuff. Those guys look terrifying. They're not like Subnautica level Leviathan terrifying, but still, when you just hear the sound of something biting behind you and you're not taking damage and you turn around and one of those is coming at your face, yeah, it's a little scary. But I'm glad that there's a mixture of that like cozy survival look with a little bit of terrifying corruption mixed in.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There was something that made me a little bit perplexed. I wasn't experiencing, and maybe it happens in other areas of the map, but it clearly told me when night has come. It didn't tell me when the day broke. It always told me night has come or night is here or whatever. And I wonder if there's something to that where, like, when you actually do go into early access and you get the game, nighttime's going to be far, far more hostile.
Well, originally in the first demo that we played, night brought back a lot of those fish creatures and made them stronger. They were more powerful.
Mm.
I didn't really notice that with the constructs that you're facing, at least in this area. With the new demo, which is another reason why I wonder if you're going to run into those fish creatures later on when that second area of the maps opened up. Because you're right, every time night falls, it warns you night has fallen. But it doesn't say that when the sun comes up. You don't get any other notifications of time just at night, which, like you said, makes you wonder what's going to change at night later on.
Another thing I have to say that I liked about this demo is they changed up the beginning ship. And the beginning ship that you can build is definitely a lot more single person friendly. Where the one that we've done in play tests, I think producer Red Falcon and I were working on it. It was kind of required for two of us to be there to really make it work, right? One steering, one failing or folding the thing. But they gave us one where it only has one little side thing, and yes, you still have to go between the rotor and the sail, but it's not that far of a distance. It's really easy to work with. and I felt like it was a pretty good situation. The other thing I enjoyed that has to do with the boats is they made that surfboard or whatever that a board is called that you can like go around in the water with. It looks like it's way further in the tech tree now, which actually is good for me because when I was playing with red, I was just kind of like, why would I ever build a boat? I can just use this to go everywhere.
It is a lot farther in the tech tree. I remember in the first demo, I got it like probably within 30 minutes of playing, and I was about halfway through collecting spirits and things like that, and upgrading bases and building structures before I finally got the skimmer. I think it's called the skimmer. I will say though that it seems to me that the boat and the skimmer both have kind of been nerfed in this new demo. They feel a lot slower. I know for a fact with the skimmer, there was a like a speed boost you could get, and you could use a power to advance across the water a lot faster. That doesn't seem to be available in the new demo, or maybe I haven't gotten all the unlocks yet to be able to do it. But both the boat and the skimmer normal travel seem a little bit slower, which is good and bad, I guess. It's a little bit harder to crash your boat and destroy your boat right away, especially when you're having to man the sails and the rudder. But it can make the travel between islands that are farther apart feel a little bit monotonous if you're going past islands you've already explored and trying to go way out into the to the outer reaches. So I'll be curious to see, with that being said, is there going to be an incentive for building other bases, for building secondary bases so that you're not going back and forth all the time? Or is there going to be alternate means of travel that are a little bit faster, especially when we get that second ring of islands opened up?
And well, folks, if you've made it this far into our video, we greatly appreciate it. Feel free to give a like and subscribe while we get back to the content. I think overall, The Voyagers of Nera is a great game. The demo really highlighted all the graphics. I like the combat. Overall, mechanics and progression wise, it seems like they've really balanced it. And I actually can't wait to see myself get past, maybe the reef, let's call it, and actually see what's further on those islands. Because if those fish people are there, I remember having such a heck of a time fighting them.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with this. I'm definitely keeping my eye on this game. Like I said, it's a good cozy survival game. It's a good change of pace from the normal survival games that we do. You can kind of relax and have fun, explore a little bit, do a little bit of building, and not feel so stressed. But also get in those combat situations where you're like, all right, I got to sit up in my chair now and focus a little bit more because I've got 4 or 5 enemies on me now instead of the one. So.
Well, folks, that is our impression of the Voyages of Nera. Join me in thanking Dimension 119 and Red Falcon for always being here and keeping the show going. Ta-ta for now.
See you in another dimension.